Are you a new Longhorn breeder eager to educate yourself on market trends and sale prices? Stay in the loop with our text messages. Get the latest updates, events, and insider tips on all things Longhorns delivered straight to your phone.
Stay informed by texting website to 888-700-8131, then reply with Longhorns. That's website to 888-700-8131. Sign up today and take your breeding program to the next level.
Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. On today's podcast, I'm visiting with Gary Hershberger of Hershberger Cattle Company in Holmes County, Ohio. On Gary's Hired Hand website, he promotes that he raises Labrador Retrievers, does custom wood cabinetry, and dabbles in Longhorns. And so today we're going to talk to him mostly about his Longhorns, specifically about breeding Longhorn steers, which have been kind of an integral part of his program and his growth over the years. So thank you so much for joining me, Gary.
Thank you.
Why don't you start just by telling me a little bit about yourself and about your breeding program?
I grew up Amish and hated cows when I was a young kid and loved horses. My grandpa had horses and race horses, and that was just something I really liked. I grew up on a farm from 12 to 26. Then I was a carpenter for about, I think it's been like 8 to 10 years. And now I started at 38. I think I started my cabinet business, and now I'm building cabinets, and married at 51, and here I am. And was raising Longhorns since 2001.
So how did you get started with the Longhorns?
My uncle, he always raised some beef. He got 2 steers, and then he put them in his pasture to butcher. He liked the Longhorns because they stayed out of his barn, so he didn't have to clean out where the Holsteins, and they were always in the barn. He said, Gary, you should start raising some Longhorns. I'd buy some steers from you. And so I checked around. He said, hey, he was down at Dickinson's, and that'd be a place to start. Kind of looked around wherever I could find something. Back then, in like 2001, there weren't that many people around this area that had Longhorns.
Yeah, being a breeder in Ohio, getting started is probably a little bit different than, someone down south where there's, ranches every few miles and stuff. So did you just go by word of mouth to find some fellow breeders besides Daryl, who's very well known? Did you were there local newspaper advertisements, internet? How did you?
Yeah, it was basically Daryl, but I did not buy my first cows from Daryl. He sent me literature out, and I was kind of doing my research, and I was more in the beef program to start with. And kind of a long story, I went down, they weren't home. We took a scenic route to come back home. I seen a sign, Longhorns for sale, and of course I pumped on the brakes, went back, and Bill, I can't think of his name right now, but he was the first guy I ever bought Longhorns from. And so that's kind of where I got my start. Then I bought a few grades and just for beef. And
so when did you kind of make the transition from beef to more the pedigree side and the breeding side?
5 years in, about 2006 or 7, I'd say. Then I had a little bit more money that I could upgrade, and then I went to a few sales, and I think the first sale I went was down in Mount Airy's when Tyson Leonard, and there they sold one for $17,000, and I was like, I want to do this too. And I didn't have really the money to go out and buy a $6,000-7,000 cow. And so I kind of started keeping notes from every sale that I could. The prices, okay, which were the highest priced, and tried memorizing that pedigree. And that is one thing that pedigree is something I'm very strong.
So how did you approach it then? So you said you couldn't afford the $6,000-7,000 ones. What was your strategy in terms of improving your breeding program then?
I bought the best bull I could from Daryl. I bought, I think, 2 of them from him over the years, and just worked my way up, and then whatever the beef program, and then I got a couple others started in the area that I could sell decent looking stuff. I'm kind of never happy with my herd. I mean, I always want to be more, improve it. And so then Daryl gave me a good advice. I kind of treated it as a hobby. And he said, Gary, if you treat your herd or your longhorns as a hobby, you'll never make any money. And that is very true. And I found it out. And so what I decided to do is I'm going to kind of act like I'm the GM of a major league football or baseball. That my weanlings would be like single A, my yearlings double A, the 2-year-olds triple A, and then the mature as a major league team, and then grade them out, and and I still do that today. And you always have some double A that will always be in double A if they're 10 years old.
I love that analogy though. That's awesome. So when you grade them out, what are you grading them on?
A lot of like color, conformation, and horn. I think probably 6-7 years ago, horn was my number one. Now it's conformation, color, horn for me, because we're getting into the hundreds, a lot of them. And I think transportation might be a little bit of an issue in hauling.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, yeah, they look nice if they have 110-inch horns and stuff, but a real nice conformation 90-inch cow is still very beautiful out in the field.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that's the time you took to learn the pedigrees, which it sounds like maybe it was a little bit faster than, you're able to move a little faster than some breeders to move your herd along. Do you think that had anything to do with growing up with the racehorses or breeding the Labrador Retrievers? Did that kind of background help you understand those pedigrees a little faster, do you think?
Yeah, because they say it works in dogs and in cattle. There is a system where the grandfather or the grandsire and the granddam and the great grandsire has only so much effect into what goes into the calf. And it's kind of complicated to understand. I don't fully understand everything about it, but it did help me a little bit. And then did a lot of research on Arrowhead Cattle Company. I mean, that was kind of my Bible at the time when I really got serious into doing the genetic stuff. And I think I got lucky a couple times. I think, not all my matings work. And, but I've had a few that worked out great.
Well, tell me a little bit about those. Tell me what genetics they were, how they worked out great, whether they were, they sold for a lot at a sale or private treaty. Maybe pick your top 3 to tell me about.
Well, it's a drag iron, 50-50, and probably 20 gauge are what I feel are game changers in your herd. The tough checks, nothing against him. He's a great bull producer. If you're wanting to raise bulls, you just breed tough checks. If you want to raise good conformation females, you stay with drag iron, 50-50, 20 gauge. There's a few others that does a real good job. Back, I think in about 2020, went on the Arrowhead Cattle Company. I wrote down every bull that sired an 80-inch cow to 100. And I think there were 394 bulls back then. I guess I should also include Rio. He was a good producer as well. Drag iron, 50-50, Rio, top caliber, I think, were like the leading sires of those. But it kind of blew my mind that I think a total of there were 11 100-inch cows, 90 of them were 167 of them, and 865 80-inch that I went through and wrote down everything. It was fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of bulls there that I never knew was even out there. But, a lot of them have only one. I don't know, was it a 90 or an 80-inch at the top.
So those 3 bulls you mentioned, did you use them then on like your paternal side of your breeding, or were you looking for females to bring into your program from those bulls, or how did you utilize those genetics that you mentioned?
Females. Try to get as many females as I can. There's one thing in the area that I am, bulls are very hard to sell. Nobody wants to come from Texas to look at or I feel this way, look at my herd with 12 cows and maybe 4 or 5 bulls. If an hour down the road, they can go to Daryl's and see 700-800 cattle and 50-60 bulls to pick from. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing that I'm a little limited in the area that I am. So I sell a bull here and there, but nothing high priced. So heifers, now I can sell decent priced heifers privately.
And who are some of tell me a few of the heifers that you've bred that have done well for you that you're proud of?
Of course, the first one would be GLH's Houdini's Rosemary. She was, I think she might be number 3, 4, or 5 longest heifer in the breed right now. And then I just sold GLH Drop Glaze. She's a drop box daughter. And then I sold, I think her name was 52. She was a 50-50 daughter that I sold as well. And I've not had too good a luck with drag iron. I sold some private that I had bred to drag iron. Of course, he got 2 heifer calves, which I was happy for, and which I bought one back now for a lot more money than I wanted to. But, that's the way it goes.
And those first few heifers that you mentioned, did you consign those to public sales, or were those private treaty sales?
One would have been at the East Coast Classic. One was a private. And then the other one was on your hired hand monthly website. And so there are a few others that I've sold also.
So you mentioned that, you feel that folks aren't going to come to your ranch to look at bulls. Is that kind of what led you to grow your steer program maybe a little bit more than others have? Was that kind of just a natural progression?
Yes, more so. Because just like I said, it's difficult to sell a high-priced bull. And I am very, I guess, maybe too quick to put a band on a calf and not give him a chance to grow out. Because I rent my facility, and it's a vacant a barn. Nobody lived there since 1967. And I cleaned it up pretty nice and so forth. And I just don't have pens to put them in to let them grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have good pedigree. And then, around a year, then I have to make decision, is it a steer or can I sell them as a bull?
So talk to me a little bit about what traits you look for when it's decision-making time. What helps you decide, are they a potential trophy steer, or are you going to, wait a little bit longer and see if they're going to make a prospective herd sire?
Number one is conformation. If they do not have real nice legs underneath them, they're just butcher steers for me. And I like something that is color, of course. And then the horn direction. And I kind of grade my cattle or the calves at 6 month old, a year, 18 month, 2 years. And once you get them up to 2 years, you can kind of see exactly what you have. And even at 18 months, it gives you a pretty good idea where they're going and stuff.
And is that the same grading system you mentioned, like where you use the baseball analogy, or is this more just ensuring you want to keep them moving along?
Yeah, more so. And there's some that you might give a little more time if they're colorful, and but they really change from 6 months to a year and a half to 18 months. They really change, and there's some that I thought they're definitely going to be a butcher, and then all of a sudden they start really blossoming out. And the key is trying to find a gem in their work clothes, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Have you felt like you found a couple over the years?
Well, Ace Man, he was always colorful, but he was not the nicest little calf when he was born. And now I think he is probably one of the nicest steers out there. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do, but for our listeners that might not be familiar, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about him?
He's 7 years old, and I feel he's about as correct animal as you can find. I just measured him last night, and he was 7 on June 24th, and he's 126 and 3/8, and he's just a gentle giant. To measure him, you just put a feed bucket out in the middle of the field, and I get my wife to go on the other end, and we measure.
Nice.
And he'll eat right out of your hand, and he's just very friendly to have around, and I really enjoy him.
And what color pattern is he, Gary?
He's kind of speckled on the lower part of his body and around his back end, and he'd have more of a solid color over his head, neck area, and kind of speckled, and very, very, very nice conformation. Everybody says I should have kept him as a bull. And one night I come down, he was probably 3 months old. He stood there he looked like a saddlebred. His back was dipped, and I just said, "You're getting a band." That's what happened that night. And I believe putting a band on them younger helps them grow horn.
Yeah.
Than waiting till they're, a year old or so.
Mm-hmm.
But he's for sale if somebody wants him. And there's a guy from Texas, I don't know, he collects big skulls. And he said if you ever want to butcher him, that he'll pay me $3,000 for the head. But trouble is, if I do have to butcher him, I think I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another steer coming that's going to be up there in that 10 foot and over range as well.
Can you tell us about him, or is he secret right now?
No, he's no secret. He's more of a white steer. He's a hanging tough, and he would be, I don't know, would be like 3/8, maybe brother to Ace Man, and he's a white, but he's going to turn a blue roan color. He's 2 years old, and I think it was a week before he was 2, he was 77 and a half. And he's just, I haven't measured him lately, but he's just, seems like every month you go down there, you can just see a difference. And he's not quite as nice a conformation as Ace, but he's still very, very presentable.
Talk to me a little bit about the differences in marketing steers versus like your sale consignments or your heifers or females that you're trying to move private treaty.
It's everybody wants them, a trophy steer, but the price, I think they don't understand what the prices are. And that is one thing I've struggled a little bit, was price wise. But then, I just show the sites what Daryl has for his prices, and then they're kind of like, oh, okay. We didn't really realize that they're uninformed, basically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've sold some nice, and people really love them. And another thing is attitude. If you're crazy, you have no chance with Hershberger's cattle. You don't last long.
Do you feel like banding them earlier also helps with that a little bit?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel like over the years that you've been involved in the industry, the market for trophy steers has fluctuated a lot, or do you feel like it's been pretty consistent?
I feel it's been pretty consistent. Of course, Joe sold that one, 4-5 years ago for mm-hmm. 48, and then Bucklehead sold for 72. But yeah, your kind of your everyday steer, trophy steer that's 120 and more, I think, are in that $10,000 to $20,000 range. I feel, mm-hmm. and I've been pretty steady.
My grandpa always used to say it costs the same amount to feed them, no matter what they are, right?
Yep, it sure does.
And now let's hear from our advertisers.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Hershberger Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at hershbergercattlecompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing canterracattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Hey, if you love From the Pasture with Hired Hand, why not go check out my podcast, The Big Iron Podcast with Andrew Shigori, where we dive into the world of registered Texas Longhorns and what it means to be an agriculture entrepreneur in the modern world, with a little southern flair, of course. Find The Big Iron Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Planning a live auction and want to reach more buyers? Hired Hand Live brings the power of the internet to your event, allowing bidders from anywhere to participate in real time. We specialize in integrating online bidding seamlessly with your live auction, ensuring that no one misses out.
Your livestock plus our technical expertise equals one successful auction. Let Hired Hand Live help you expand your reach and maximize your results. Visit hiredhandlive.com to learn more.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
Have you found anything over the years that works really well in terms of, almost ensuring that you sell any that you're trying to, or is it just, again, just market and hit and miss? Luck of the draw.
I've sold a couple at shows at our local Ohio River Valley that has seen my steers. I usually take, I didn't take one this year to the show, and usually I take a couple and show them, and then that people showed up. And we moved now down south. We were up in Worcester, closer to my place, and that I sold a few.
Do you feel like it's important that they be halter broke, or do you feel like just making sure that they're calm is enough?
I think halter broke would help. I have never, actually, there's on one cow that I halter broke. And I did it for a local girl that she wanted to get into showing a little bit, and I let her picked out a heifer and to show and stuff to help her get to show stuff. The more she shows, the better she got, and she was good at showing. And other than that, I don't have the time, or I don't take the time, but I believe it would really help. There's one little thing that Ace Man has that I'm not so crazy. You can feed him apples, scratch his head, but if he wants more, then he likes to swing his head at you. And that, I believe a halter trained animal wouldn't do that, or not nearly as quick. There's times like last winter, I was out just looking at the herd and not really mind my business. All of a sudden, I felt a tap on the back of my hip, and here he snuck up behind me, and he was just whacking me with his just kind of light taps. He's not a mean, but if you have 4 feet of horn out there swinging, even just a slow turn, it can hurt. And he's not thinking to hurt you or anything. But yes, halter trained, I think, would possibly help me better as well. And I have a facility now here at home that I could use, but it takes a lot of time and patience.
How many bulls would you say that you steer a year?
Probably, I have a small herd, so I think 2 years ago was 9, last year I think 7, and this year's going to be 7. Probably 5. I have 2 pretty good looking bulls. There's a few people that are interested in them, so I don't know, are they going to pull the trigger now or not? And
So I know you mentioned that you rent a facility, but that you also have some space at home. Do you feel like a lot of people call them pasture art or pasture candy regarding the steers? Do you feel like near you, they ever help people to stop by and view your whole herd, or, get folks started with Longhorns when they drive by and see them?
they have, yes. I have over 25 acres, and it's everything's road frontage or around the hill area there. And a lot of people stop. And just like last night, there's a car coming through there, and all of a sudden, whoa, and they just stop, and some come out, take pictures. And there's a guy from Vermont. Holmes County, Ohio is one of the nicest place in the fall to go look at leaves. And this one guy from Vermont comes down in this area every fall, and he found these Longhorns out driving around. Now every year he stops by. I've talked with him twice now, and which I'm not down there. It's not my residence, but so he said he's just amazed by him and never seen him till he was down here one day.
Do you get some good pictures out of the deal, hopefully?
There was one photographer, he never did send me any, and but that's something I should invest in, is a good camera, and go out and take a lot better pictures instead of just cell phone pictures. But the cell phone pictures, they do. But I would like to get a good camera and try to, because there's some real nice areas where, like in the fall, leaf backgrounds and stuff that could be very, very nice pictures.
Mm-hmm. Right before it starts to get really cold, right?
Yep.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit back to just your overall breeding program and your overall breeding strategies. What just general types of advice would you have for new breeders, thinking about getting involved or trying to decide, do I want to mess with trying to steer some of my bulls versus sale barn them? Just what can you share with us about that?
I think number one, you have to decide what kind of genetics you want to go after. And do you want to have the long, and it kind of goes back to, do you want them just as a hobby or do you want to make money with them? If you want to make money with them, you have to really get down and study pedigrees and conformation. You have to learn how to just look at a cow or a bull and see, does he have good conformation or not? Color, anybody can, see the color. And then it's the horn is just something, you hope it comes everything with a pedigree. But pick out your pedigree that you want to go with and stick with it.
What about how would you change your advice if we were talking about specifically about breeders kind of located outside of the traditional areas of where, most of the Longhorn breeders are located? So more in your part of the country or, maybe the West Coast or just kind of those non-traditional areas.
Somebody like that, if somebody comes to me, a new breeder in my area, which there's quite a few anymore, I tell them, don't expect to sell too many bulls. Because we're in an area where Daryl, he rules the East Coast market pretty much. I mean, it's just, that's a fact. I mean, and try to have a beef program and just try to get your eyes focused on conformation and same thing as far as where do you want to go? Do you want to just have a hobby or a business? If you want to make money with them, you have to stick with the program. You just can't buy a bull, throw them out in the pasture, and whatever comes in and take it to a sale and try to get $5,000-$6,000 for it. It just doesn't work that way. You need to put your effort into it. Keep checking other websites. Keep checking up on young bulls. What's the hot market out there, and just see if they're heifer producers and you want to raise heifers. Try to, if you can, use heifer sex semen. I encourage AI because you can really build up your herd quick that way. But some people don't want to mess with the AI, and a bull is very easy, but it's also, I feel, that's only what you're getting, because you can put certain bulls with certain cows and really improve the back end of something or the front end, get them tighter and different things where AI can really, really help you.
How important do you think it is for breeders located outside of those popular areas to attend regional events, but also maybe some crossover events outside of their part of the country?
Futurities is a good thing to go to and watch. That's how I learned a lot. Is I went down to Bowling Green, the Hudson Valentine deal, and they kind of wrote down stuff what I thought that they should score, and then I went out and looked at the first place heifer and then a couple of the last place heifers, and try to get your mindset on what scores number one, and try to train your mind to see those things. There's some people who can't, and there's some that can really see that real quick. And we have a new breeder in the area, and I mean, he's very serious, and he's going to do okay. And he bought a few from me and as well, and he's learning to it. He had quite a few acres, and he just bought some to eat grass. And I talked to him about a month ago, and he said, Gary, the expensive ones, the lower class eat just as much as the expensive one. Mm-hmm. I need to call some and get better stock. And mm-hmm. he's finding out. I mean, he's about 2 years in now, and he's got the right attitude, and he spends a lot of time digging up pedigree, and and me and another guy talked to him what he needs to do, and he's doing it right. And you need to stay at it, and it's an ongoing process that you have to continue to keep up with the hot bulls out there, and he went to a lot of futurities, and I feel futurities is a one thing that gets you out there, because you see a lot of different cattle.
Do you feel like when you get home from a futurity, your eye is more critical on your own heifers after seeing the class winners or even the top 5 or 6? Do you feel like you're kind of in a different frame of mind then when you're out there with your own herd?
Yeah, because it definitely does. You look at them and you score them in your own mind, then you come home. Well, yeah, she's got that little flaw. So yeah, it does.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink. We're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
Hidden Springs Ranch, located in central North Carolina, is committed to registered Texas Longhorns. From our high-end breeding stock down to our delicious Longhorn beef sticks, check us out at hslonghorns.com or on Instagram at Hidden Springs Ranch. Hidden Springs Ranch, where they're bred to turn heads.
Overwhelmed with your digital chores? Let us lend a hand. From websites and animal management to internet auctions, graphic design, marketing, search engine optimization, and more, Hired Hand Software is your hired hand for all things digital.
Specializing in pedigree, livestock breeds, and beyond, we handle the tech so you can focus on the animals you love. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com today, where your digital chores just got a whole lot easier.
Well, AI and beef are two things that you've mentioned that I haven't really asked you many questions about. Do you just want to share a little bit about how you work both of those things in with your program?
Basically, the beef program, you always have your steers that never make it, and that's just one way to get rid of them versus taking them to a sale barn. So you will always have, even if you get your beef. The AI is something that I try to use as much heifer sex as I can, and to get heifers. That is one thing I really, for me, try to stress, is try to get as much heifers as I can. And this year, I have a few good ones. I'm very happy.
Do your own AI work, or did you have to find someone local that was comfortable with Longhorns, or how did that transpire?
There is a AI technician that comes around, and for $12 he puts them in.
Wow.
And I mean, you can't beat it. he's got a dairy farm just down the road from my place, so he's there twice a day. And I just got to let him know, and I get him in, and he comes, and I take my tank down, he puts it in, and I think I could do it myself, but for $12, it's for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. There's been times that I wish he would have come quicker, but everybody says they don't ovulate quite as quick as think they might and stuff.
So with the AI work, do you find yourself kind of planning multiple years down the road, kind of where you want that genetic route to go versus your natural service animals? Because I feel like with all your lists and all your notes that you keep, I'm sure you have to have at least a few years in your mind.
Usually 3 years in advance. Like these heifers that I have this year, I have where I want to go with them. And of course, then a bull pops up, you change your mind. But yeah, there's some 2-year-olds this year that I bred to a bull, but I have plans for them next year where I want to use them. And yeah, it's I know I still got 3 50/50s left, and fingers crossed I can get 3 calves, but that's kind of hard to find. And it's not so hard to find. It's just you want to pay so much for it. And I have a real good drag iron 50/50 bull that I might be keeping to breed some of my cattle with, because those two they're not so good on bulls for horn wise, but heifers and cows, I feel my number 1 and 2.
Well, the future sounds exciting for Hershberger cattle, that's for sure.
Well, yes, I hope everything pans out the way I have some things envisioned for next year. I'm a little bit light on color. I'm trying to get a little more color into the herd. And so I went out and bought a bull, and hopefully that'll get a little more color into the herd. And conformation and horn, I feel I have that with a slow herd, a small herd like I have. I think I had 14 calves, and 7 bulls, 7 heifers. So, and I have 2 heifers that are not really nice this year. I don't know why, but those genetics did not work. And those 2 were probably one of the most ones that I really was wanting to, and they might snap out. But yeah, as of right now, a young calf, not what I expected them to be.
Live and learn, right?
Yep. I mean, that's one thing. You think you can have it penciled, everything lines up to be good, and it just didn't work. But it works out more than it doesn't. I'd say 80-20. As far as if you try to get a little more confirmation or something. Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Is there anything else that we didn't cover or that I didn't ask that you'd like to share with the listeners?
If you want to get into them, or if you are into them, stick to it. There's times that you might feel like you're failing, but you're really not. And one thing I've learned, that some horns grow slower than others, that they might not look good as yearlings or even 18 months, but then all of a sudden at 30 months, it's like, whoa, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. And I wish I'd have more room to let some of them progress rather than, get rid of them. And but I only can keep so many. So I got to I have definitely some hard decisions to make here in the next year and a half, what I'm going to keep and what I am going to sell. And so try to keep your course, what your vision is, and just go with it and be open-minded.
I think that's great advice.
And another thing, I really enjoy the Longhorn people because it's just a huge, big family. And, you can kind of walk up to anybody and just start talking, and it just feels like you've known each other for 20 years. I took a few of my Amish friends along already to the sales, and he said, this is awesome. You do a prayer before, sales and stuff. He said that is something you just don't see often in the public anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoy them. It's just somebody was at my place the other day looking at a calf, and they just said, what is it about these cattle? You can just sit out and watch them, and you've seen them for the whole summer, but you can just sit down and just look at them and for another whole hour and, not really notice anything different, but you just watch them. And that's something I really, really enjoy. And my cows, it's kind of funny when I drive past there to take my cabinets to the finish shop, they know my truck. And they can be up in the field 200 yards away. They hear my truck. They're all looking at me when I'm driving past the road, where other people drive by and they don't even lift their head. And, they know it's me. And it's kind of nice to see that.
They're special animals for sure.
I learned you have to be very smart with them because they are not dumb animals at all. I learned a lot in the first couple of years with my beef animals, what I had for beef. And they're not Holsteins. I grew up with Holsteins and stuff, and they're not Holsteins at all. And on one of these deals was a deal that was shared. What was the funniest?
Oh,
story?
Yes. Do you have one?
I do. I paid labor at a fire department for, I think, 5 guys, and they wanted to come and help me brand cattle. And the one slipped out. The guy didn't get the gate closed in time. And so they hopped on my 4-wheeler, and anyhow, he's a bullfighter, and actually a real good one. And he was they were flying through the pasture on the 4-wheeler, and he chummed out. He kind of slowed her down, but grabbed her like a bulldogger, and she kind of turned around. Anyhow, he got a hold of the tail, and he was going down through the pasture on his back, holding the tail, and the feet were like right beside his shoulders. And that was we laughed so hard. And finally, she was like about a yearling, I think. She was probably 550 pounds or so. Finally, she just couldn't pull him anymore, and she was tired. But we were laughing so hard we couldn't even get up to him to help him hold her down. It's a lot funnier in person than what I'm telling. But that was kind of a funny story.
Sounds like it. Probably not something he wanted to do again.
But that's the wrong way to get your cattle in, because she was, the next time the 4-wheeler came into the field, she was
gone.
The tail up, and she was heading out. That was not the right thing to do, but it was a pretty funny story.
Made for a good memory, at least.
Yep.
Well, anything else you'd like to cover before we?
I believe one thing, Arrowhead Cattle Company can really help you do a lot of research. You can get on there, look at calves, see what their mamas were and stuff. That's where I went a lot, did a lot of research and stuff.
Do you feel like that's your favorite hired hand site? Kind of your go-to hired hand site?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Craig does a nice job with it for sure.
Yeah, that is definitely, I call it the Bible of the Longhorns. I mean, it's in there, and you can snoop around till you're so tired that and find so many things. That helped me more than anything.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And I talk to Greg quite a bit, and if I need to find another bull or something, he helps me out. Or, hey, this is a hot bull that might be coming up, and try to buy some semen, when the prices are a little lower, then take a gamble.
Well, for folks that might not be familiar, we'll be sure to link Gallery of Horns in the show notes along with your website too, Gary, so they can check out Ace Man and some of the other animals that we've talked about here today.
And I need to get a better job with my pictures of the website. That needs help. I know that, and something that I have to do.
Well, maybe it'll get them out there in person if you don't get it updated before then.
Yeah, if somebody needs cabinets, I can build them.
Yeah, they're beautiful woodwork, that's for sure. I was looking over some of it before our interview here.
And I should send you more pictures. And
anytime, send them our way.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Yep, thanks. Bye.